You're listening to the First Fight podcast, home of the people and stories behind the fight. I'm Jennifer Anderson, the host and creator. My goal is to give you a peek into the remarkable world of fighting and create a platform for fighters to tell their stories. In each episode of this series, a different fighter shares a transformative story of their first time. So welcome back, everyone. On this week's episode, I'll be interviewing jiu-jitsu phenom, Amanda Leve, and I appreciate her coming on the show, and I appreciate everyone listening. We've been off a couple weeks because of the new baby and life, but we're back, and I have Amanda on today, so thanks for coming on, Amanda.
Oh, thank you for having me. I was actually so excited when you reached out. I feel like I haven't seen you or talked to you in forever.
No, I'm glad you're willing to take the time.
Alrighty, so is it story time for me?
Yeah, go for it. Tell us how you got started. You've been at it for a while now, so.
Yeah, ironically, I'll tell you my first jiu-jitsu fight experience. So I'll start with that because I feel like that has like a big influence on my whole MMA side of it too. Okay. So I was 11 years old. My dad signed me up for jiu-jitsu, and my dad's super competitive, and I was a super competitive kid, but my dad's like super competitive, loves the whole competition scene. So 4 months in, I barely know jiu-jitsu. He puts me in a tournament. I lose in 15 seconds, cried, and wanted to go home. And then he convinced me to stay and to do one more match. He's like, just do one more time. Like, maybe, you'll get a feel for it now and blah, blah. So I went out there, my second match, I ended up winning. And that feeling has stuck with me ever since, like that accomplishment of like, after you like just had like a hard fought match and get your hand raised and like the spotlight feels like it's on you, like love the feeling afterwards. So I feel like that has carried on for the last 13 years with jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So then my first MMA fight, this was like 2017, I believe. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu forever. So it's always been very hard for me to get a girl to fight me to begin with for amateur MMA. Just because they see my background, and they're like, oh, she's too experienced. So they pass it on me. So I was super excited this girl took it. She was a striker. And I had Dante Rivera in my corner. So he was like super excited, had me training very hard with like Leandro Hernandez and stuff like that. So fight day comes, I feel super prepared. I'm like super sick to my stomach because it's just like a new experience. And Dante kept going, this girl's a bum. This girl's a bum. You're going to destroy her. And I'm like, stop saying she's a bum. Like, if I lose her, I'm going to feel like such a loser because you keep calling her a bum. And I know he didn't mean that she's actually a bum. He was just trying to, like, hype me up. But it didn't do that, for sure. And then, of course, I have, like, these people, like, interviewing me, and they're like, YouTube sensation, jiu-jitsu star, Amanda Leve. So then I'm like feeling like really pressured for my first MMA fight. I'm like, sheesh, because like I feel like jiu-jitsu, the competition world versus MMA, it's so different.
It's
like
different,
you're gonna punch in the face.
I want to preface this for those who don't know. Amanda is a jiu-jitsu star, so understandably, people and opponents are hard to come by for you. And your debut, yeah. I'm sure, was long awaited by a lot of people.
Yeah, so I had a couple people like write articles and stuff and like interview me for it. So I was kind of like extra nervous now because now I feel like the pressure's on me because they're like, oh, jiu-jitsu, now you're going to do MMA. Like, I don't know. I feel like they were just expecting a lot. So yeah, the pressure definitely felt a little more intense than a regular jiu-jitsu match. But anyway, it was in New York. So like you wear the shin pads, no head kicks. And there's no like ground and pound, only to the body. So like you feel a little more comfortable with that kind of rule set because it's almost like a baby rule set when you're actually like, when I was like training in the gym, it was like, I feel like the training was a little bit harder because we're actually doing ground and pound and stuff like that. So I feel like I was more prepared for this fight than the rule set, for the rule set, I should say. But this girl was like super tall and lanky. She came out and said she was basically like in her promo video. I'm sure it was just for the promo video, but she was like just coming at my jiu-jitsu a little bit. I was like, oh, whatever. Like, you're a striker. We'll see what happens. So I went in. I could like hear my mom screaming so loud. And it was funny because my sister was like, Mom, stop. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing me. And I went out there. Once they said go, basically, I was just like, you're in the zone, right away. So I threw like maybe like one punch. I don't even think it connected. And I got her to the cage, got a double leg, did a little side control stuff, I think. Yeah, side control, got to an arm bar, and this girl's arm was like super flexible to the point where like she just was not tapping. I had it fully extended, hips in and everything. So I did like what you probably should never do in MMA. I just like sat to my back for like a triangle, which I had the setup perfect, got the triangle, got the finish, and that was like 2 minutes into the first round. So once I got the finish, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, it was almost like that feeling like when I was like a kid on the jiu-jitsu mat, like all over again. Like, it just felt so good. I was like, man, I cannot wait to fight again. This was great. You did my little lap, cheer around the ring, and the rest, I guess, is history because I'm just waiting to get another fight now.
Yeah, I mean, someone like you is kind of a unique situation because you're so accomplished in jiu-jitsu. It's your career and your experience is probably going to be a little different because you'll probably have to go pro right away and jump into it, but you have so much experience competing. I actually have interviewed a lot of wrestlers who have that experience in one-on-one competition, and you guys are a little different, I think, because you're a little more prepared for that. But once you got out there, was it a lot different than your jiu-jitsu matches, and were you more nervous, or was
I
it like,
definitely,
were you in
yeah,
the
I definitely
zone?
felt more nervous, like for sure. I think just because of the punching aspect of it. Um, so like I didn't do any like boxing or kickboxing matches leading up to it. After that MMA fight though, I did end up doing a boxing match and kickboxing match a year later because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to like still because it was still hard for me to get an MMA fight for like the amateur MMA scene. So I was like, all right, well, if I can't get it for that, I might as well try boxing and kickboxing just so I know what it's like to be in a real fight because like my first MMA fight was it was 2 minutes of experience. Like it wasn't even really like an experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean it was, but it wasn't. And I did my boxing match and kickboxing match, and it was just like that was even so different, but it made me so much more comfortable fighting again when I had my second amateur fight because I was able to know that I could last and I could take more punches and
Mm-hmm.
just the more experience you get is the better. I wish I kind of did the boxing kickboxing match prior to my first MMA fight.
It's someone like you can probably get away with, because you're so dominant in grappling, could get away with not being as experienced in striking, but it's so good for someone like you to do that where you're like forced to do it, even if it's just
Yeah.
for your confidence to get that experience, because it sucks figuring that out when you're at a higher level that you can't get away with, not whatever your striking level is, or relying just on grappling, for example.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that was like my big thing was making sure I at least had like a little bit of experience striking before I did my next MMA fight. Just because you just feel so uncomfortable, unnatural, I guess, when you go from like jujitsu and like being hunched over and you're in like a grappling position to get ready for a takedown. And then now you're doing like a striking and like I circle different for like wrestling than I do for jujitsu. So I catch myself like messing up my footwork sometimes. So definitely doing the striking helped with that for my last fight, which was in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, they're also different. That's the hard part, I think, about MMA is putting them together. You can always, your body moves so different for wrestling. You can see a wrestler, you can usually tell a wrestler is completely different than striking, which is completely different than grappling. It's hard transitioning. I always had a hard time transitioning. I could do each individual thing better than I could put it all together, I guess.
Yes, that's my biggest struggle is like connecting and tying everything together, like tying punches to takedowns or,
Hmm.
like that whole scene, like it was such a struggle for me to tie in punching to takedowns because I just wanted to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Like just constant drilling of like punches, takedown, punches, takedown. I'm like, I don't understand why I cannot tie these two things together. It's like almost like I felt like I was using like different sides of my brain or something to the point where I could not connect these two.
Wrestling was the last thing I learned, I would say, but I spent so much time as a striker, I think, fearing the takedown that when I did get taken down, I would freeze up. Like I was better at jujitsu when I was just doing jujitsu, but when I would get
Yeah.
taken down in a fight, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like the thing I've been trying not to let happen happened, and then I would freeze up and I would choke in jujitsu and fights when I knew I was better than that and just straight grappling, you know?
Yeah. Wait, so what did you start with? You started with kickboxing?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah, I started at it was an MMA gym, luckily, a really good MMA gym, but it was, my coach was primarily a striking coach. So
Okay.
our striking practices were our MMA practices were very intense, like striking based. Then I came here and like Nick's MMA practices were like just as intense, but like more MMA wrestling based. So
Yeah.
it just was different.
Yeah, it's like two different worlds.
Yeah, but like after coming to Jersey, I think everyone in Jersey, maybe the East Coast in general, are like a higher level grappler.
Yeah, weird how that works out, right? Like I feel like for jiu-jitsu, like you look at like middle America, there's like nothing there. And then it's like
Yeah,
East Coast, West Coast. There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like
And I'm from the Midwest, so jiu-jitsu it wasn't the same level as it is here. There's more people that compete. You guys do super fights here. They don't do that back there, you know. So
yeah.
you have people here that actually like make money doing jiu-jitsu, you know. But
Yeah.
no one does that. At least when I was living there, no one was doing that then.
Yeah.
So you have trained a lot with your brother, right? Like your whole family's involved.
Yeah.
You guys have all started at a really young age too.
Yeah. I wish so my sister was in it, my brother was in it, my cousin was in it. And my other little cousin, he's still in it. But I wish we would have all stayed with it because I'm like, we could have been like the Gracies, like we'd have been the
Yeah.
Levies. Like this would
Yeah.
have been so cool. Um, but me and my brother are the only ones that ended up continuing it, which ironically, he even dropped out of it for a minute. He was 8 when he signed up. I was 11. I continued jiu-jitsu since I was 11. He stopped at 8 or like 9, and then he signed back up when he was like 15, 16, and now
Hmm.
he's killing it too. So I mean, like his jujitsu is incredible. But my dad also like threw us into the wolves all the time. So like I was 13 competing, he threw me in the women's division.
Yeah.
My brother's 14. He's like a chubby 14. He's like 200 something pounds, and my dad throws him in the men's division with like the heavyweights, like heavyweight men, like.
Hmm.
And it's a shame because I feel like Evan gets no credit ever. I'm like trying to give him a shout out because he's a little beast, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all know
yeah.
they're both beasts. So, um, I don't get a lot of women on here. I've been wanting to. I hate just interviewing men all the time, but it's just the
Yeah.
nature of the beast. There's not as many. It's a male dominated world, I would say. What was it like for you training? Not only, I feel like you're probably usually younger than everyone, but being one of the few females training at a really high level, what was that like?
It was cool because everyone always treated me like their like little sister. So
Hmm.
like every gym I went to, like the guys were always super welcoming, super supportive. Like I could not tell you one guy that was like mean to me as in a gym. I've been to like 5 different gyms. So
Hmm.
like every guy that I I trained with was super duper helpful. Like even as a kid, like they wouldn't play with me. They was more like I was kind of like thrown into the adult class because there wasn't even kids classes at that point at the balance that I was at. when I first started, and I just had to be serious right off the bat because I was in an adult class. So
Yeah.
when I would get another girl in, it would be cool. They would never really last long though. So it was very hard to see like any consistent girls just like staying and developing and like getting to like a good like jujitsu level. They all usually left.
Hmm.
Um, but it was cool. I really can't complain. I also think like if people get mad at me all the time, like, oh, because I always say like, I guess because I grew up training with guys, like, and they always push me like way harder than girls. Like I'm like, oh, I always like preferred usually to train with guys because I never trained with girls. Like I owe my jujitsu to all the guys because they
Yeah.
all train with me. It's not no offense to the girls. Like I do get great training rounds with when I do get to train with girls, but most of my jujitsu is great because I got to train with all these guys that were pushing me at such a young age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice now because you go to tournaments and you see little girls just like tearing it up. There's so many little girls in tournaments, like
It's
so
awesome.
many. It's awesome. But yeah, as I said, I'm like, I can't wait to have like a little kid, like, and to put them into jujitsu and wrestling, and so hopefully I have a little girl to like push towards that. But
Yeah. Grappling's kind of, women don't take, I mean, I know this from selling gym memberships too. Like women tend to go more towards the striking than grappling. But I think it's becoming more popular. It's more popular out here too. I always tell women that if the number one martial art you could do for self-defense is jiu-jitsu,
100%, yeah.
I even, having the background in striking, I wouldn't punch someone to defend myself. Like I
Hmm.
would use the clinch and jiu-jitsu to defend myself really. So I always steer women towards it to
Yeah.
get more women on the mats, but
I guess it's more uncomfortable, I guess, for women, right? Because there's so many guys, and then like it's so like touchy. It's so
well, I
touchy.
mean, think of Nogi, how nasty Nogi is. You're
Yeah.
literally covered in
It's
like
like, right.
sweat and pubes on the mat and
Yeah, for real.
everything. I missed it though.
Yeah, so like that's it's kind of funny because like I don't know, like I wonder if I would have still done jujitsu if I was just introduced to it now versus as a kid. Because as a kid, you don't know any better. You're just kind of
Yeah.
in it and you're like not thinking twice about anything. Whereas like when you're an adult, you're so much more self aware and like it just such a different experience. So I always wonder if I would still because my boyfriend wrestles, so um like I'm sure like he when he signed up in jiu-jitsu, like if I met him, like he would probably try to push me to do like jujitsu or try to wrestle or something. So
Hmm.
I'm like, I wonder if I would do it if I was 24 versus when I was 11. Like 11, I knew I was going to do it. 24, I'm like, oh, would I have done it? Rolling around with a bunch of guys, sweaty, maybe.
Yeah, it's hard. I've definitely like signed up a lot of women that started jujitsu like at a as an adult, but they don't usually stick around as
Yeah,
much. I mean, jujitsu in general, people don't stick around, a few do for the a long period of time, but maybe it's bad experiences training or I don't know. I grew up with my dad was a wrestling coach, so I was around it, so it wasn't as much of a culture shock for me, but some people they fall in love with the culture, but some people might get overwhelmed by grappling with men and there's
yeah.
always some jerk that gives you a bad experience here and there. It shouldn't have taken me this long, but congratulations on your black belt you
Thank you.
recently earned. How does that feel?
It feels good. It's funny because I've been doing it for so long and like, with like school dramas and stuff like that, like in between gyms. I was like telling people literally before I got my black belt. This is literally I'm having a conversation with Jay Regobuto literally 5 minutes before my black belt, and I'm like, honestly, at this point, I could care less if I get my black belt because I was technically due for it like 3 years ago. I'm like, honestly, it doesn't even matter to me anymore because I'm like,
Yeah.
my experience has basically been ruined for it. I'm like, it is what it is. I'm like, I'm beating top level girls, so it's not that big of a deal that I just have to have a the
Yeah.
black belt tied to my name. And he's like, yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. And then 5 minutes later, I get promoted to black belt. Like it was a surprise.
Oh, that's
And I was like, man, I was talking so much crap beforehand, but now that I have my black belt, it is very nice to be able to say, one, that I'm a black belt, and two, to actually have something that represents like my 13 years of like hard work in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a long time coming. You've been at it from such a young age and such a high level, I think, that probably feels good.
Yeah, it definitely does
Kind
feel
of
good. And then
relights
people
the
reaching
fire under
out.
your butt, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so they tricked me because they told me my brother was getting his brown belt. So like, I saw like my mom, my sister, my stepdad walk in, and I'm like, why are they calling for Evan's brown belt? I mean, like, you get it's like a big deal, but like they usually don't really come. Like, he didn't come for his purple belt, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then they called me up. I'm like, oh, I'm like, damn, look at me getting a black belt.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's amazing. That's
Yeah, thank you.
an elite, legit club,
Yep,
to be a
yep.
part of. Are you going to continue to focus or compete at a high level in jiu-jitsu, or do you want to do more fighting?
So I was actually like on the fence of like before the whole story I told you before. So I was basically supposed to make my pro debut, and then I didn't pass the physical because I got an MRI in my brain, and they said, um, there's something abnormal, and this is the week before my fight. So I just went through a whole fight camp, a whole weight cut for them to tell me this. So I'm like hysterically crying that I can't fight. I didn't even care that they said they found something on the MRI in my brain.
Oh
I
my
was more upset I couldn't fight. Um, so a couple months later, after I got more tests done, follow-ups with the neurologist, they cleared me. And but right before that whole situation, I was on the edge of just like stopping to compete for jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, I'm done jiu-jitsu. Kind of bored with it. Like, I mean, I get that it's like fun and exciting for other people, but I've just been at it for so long. I feel like once I did MMA, it was just like I want to do MMA so badly. Like just being locked in a cage with someone versus just stepping on the mat with someone is so different for me. It's so much more scary, and I guess that's why I like it because like you get like that like adrenaline rush, that high off of it. Um, so now that I got cleared and stuff, and I'm trying to do MMA and stuff. In the meantime, I actually just took a jiu-jitsu match. So I'll be in Miami May 1st for like the fight to win the subversive. So it's like a team event. So you get like a heavyweight male, a lightweight male, and you have a female on your team. And then there's a whole bracket of other teams, and you like face off best two out of three, basically. So if you win two, you go on to the next round. If you win one, lose one, then you fight for the third one to see who goes on to the next round. I did this in October, like right before my MMA fight actually was supposed to happen, and it was super fun. It's actually like I don't know if it's because it's like a team thing or anything, but it is very fun and exciting to be on like a card like that. So when Studio 84 offered, oh, do you want to be our female for like that division? And plus it's Miami, so I'm like, hell yeah, hell yeah, I want to be on that team. So I'm actually really excited to be able to compete because once I got cleared like a month and a half ago, I've been training a lot. So I'm just super excited to get out there and just compete in general. I guess, especially after that whole scaring thing, thinking I was never going to do anything again. um, I'm really excited to compete May 1st.
That's awesome. That's a cool concept. That would be fun to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a really good card too in October. It was super, and it's like gets more intense, I feel like, and like having the whole team aspect, it makes it fun, I guess, for everybody.
yeah, that's fun. I didn't
Yeah,
know
and
they
then you
did
don't
that.
feel as pressured, I guess, because like, they're just relying on you. Like it's more of like a group effort,
Yeah, that's
and you
cool.
get multiple matches if you keep winning, so that's cool.
I need to do that. I want to do compete again
Yeah,
once
you
I
really should.
get back into it.
Are you thinking like jujitsu or like?
Yeah, no more fighting. So since I'm
Yeah,
not fighting, I'm jujitsu's that's feasible. I could do that. I don't have the time to train for a fight, but
yeah,
I could do jujitsu. It might take
yeah.
some time though to really get like a way
Back to
where I
it.
could train consistently. But
Hmm.
I would like to again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Do like a naga or something.
Yeah, I've been training forever, and I mean, there's been a couple years off because of the having kids, but I've I need to continue because I need to get promoted. I cannot like end where I'm at. I've had my blue belt forever. So
Yeah, that's like the blue belt blues. Like
I
most
know
people
I'm
quit
not
at
gonna be one of those people. I mean, obviously the belts don't matter. I just want to be training. But the last few years, I was just doing no-gi, so for MMA, and I don't even. I don't even know how many years I've had it now. It's ridiculous, but
Yeah, you gotta get out of the blue belt.
yeah,
Like, quit a purple belt. Just don't quit a blue belt. Don't be the high percentage.
I know, and I don't even. That's not even why. Like, I want to train jujitsu my whole life, but this little in between time I've had with kids, I'm like, I am getting back on the mats. I'm not stopping at blue belt.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta be a tough mom, you know?
I know. It would hurt to do right now, but I need to get back to it. I miss it. I miss training in general. It's hard.
Yeah,
You don't realize how much time you take to train until you have kids, and it's hard to even get away for an hour. So
yeah. I don't know. There's something about like just being sweaty too after like a hard training session that just feels so good.
feels so good. It's just I was just telling Corey, like animals do that, like baby animals wrestle with each other. Like it's just nothing matters. It's like meditation. It's a time for you to not think about life, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you're so focused on the current problem of being like mounted or choked. You don't have
Yeah.
time to
Like
think of outside world problems.
the DMV isn't that bad when you have learned how to like stay calm when someone's choking you. So
Yeah.
that's what I always tell people when I'm trying to like promote them doing jujitsu.
Yeah. It's funny too. I couldn't even tell you how many people I've tried to convince to do jujitsu, and I think they're just intimidated by the look of look of it.
Oh,
Like
it's
it's really not that
so
bad.
liberating. I honestly only got into it because I wanted to do MMA, so I
Okay.
kind of forced myself. But I love it. I always take to striking more, but I do really enjoy jujitsu. So
Yeah.
especially no-gi, that took time for me to enjoy, but now I prefer it.
Yeah, I hate gi. I despise gi.
I feel like
Like
once you do no-gi, it's really hard to go back to the gi.
yeah. Which is ironic. My boyfriend's a wrestler and loves gi. Loves
Really
gi. Yeah. I'm like,
surprising.
what are you? Like, who are you? I'm like, should I even date you? Because I hate gi.
Well, Amanda, thank you for coming on and talking with me. I appreciate it, and I'm really pumped about your black belt, and I'm pumped about you being able to continue fighting. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you have your pro debut, maybe
Yep, I'm
for
excited.
Bellator. Hopefully,
Yep, hopefully.
you shouldn't have problems. What weight will you be fighting at?
145. So I did the 135 for like a jiu-jitsu tournament, and it was just no,
Don't.
yeah, no go for me.
You're
So
you're solid and you're lean at 45. I think that's
yeah,
good for you, and we need more people at that weight class. So
yeah. There's the Bellator has a great 145 division. I feel like is
yeah,
especially for like especially for me making my pro debut and not having that much experience. I feel like their girls are very like it's just good setup for me in the
yeah.
long run.
No, they're
So I'm
great. I mean,
excited.
my husband loves working with them, so
Yeah.
it's been so far so good. I would definitely recommend it. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to see you. Keep me in the loop on that. And your that competition in Miami is when?
May 1st.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Make sure you tell Corey I said hi too.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in once again. And thank you to Amanda for coming on the show. I love hearing her perspective and what it was like for her coming up, being highly competitive in jiu-jitsu and then transitioning into MMA. And thank you everyone for being patient after being off a few weeks because of the baby. We're back. We have more interviews coming, more special episodes coming. And actually soon we're going to be adding some more video interviews as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Follow us on our Instagram page at The First Fight and our website at firstfightpodcast.com. Thank you.